Peace, peace and blessings to everybody. Hope everyone is doing well today. If you're catching live, if you're catching a replay, my name is Trinity, and on this channel I'll talk about African spirituality and self-improvement. And the topic of today's lecture is going to be how to activate your melanin. Before we get, into the slides here, just want to take some time to, frame the discussion. When it comes to, the collective and the times that we're in, I think a lot of people are dealing with, mental health issues, health in general, physical health, emotional health. And we as Black people have been oppressed and held down for centuries now. You know what I'm saying? It's always been a constant battle, constant struggle. No matter what arena or what environment, it seems that we have to fight to simply be natural. And, I think back to the ancient world or, my studies of it, and I put myself there, and I imagine these ancient African people at the beginning of the world building civilization, doing these great things. So, it's very natural, it's very reasonable for one to ask, well, how do we get here? You know what I'm saying? What happened? If we were so great, what happened? And to me, as I've studied it, I think that the short answer comes down to melanin and the expression of it. Melanin and what it represents. So with that said, let's get into the slides. Right, so we're talking about how to activate your melanin. What is it? Melanin is, I think most of us think to, black skin. Like that's what we consider to be melanin. That is a part of it, but I think that, that's the least important aspect of what melanin truly is. Melanin, from a scientific perspective, is a carbon-based molecule, right? So then what is carbon? I'm going to read this excerpt from Professor Kaba, Kamene's book, Carbon Before Melanin. The diversity of life on Earth and elsewhere in the universe is made possible by the abundance of the carbon atom. Carbon is the atom that creates complex molecular structures by its glue-like characteristics. Right? So it's saying that a lot of the structures that exist in, the reality that we perceive, carbon is what makes it possible. And like we said, carbon is what makes up melanin, right? So melanin shares those same type of characteristics where, it has the ability to regulate, it has the ability to carry energy, to transfer information, right? And when we think about plants and the process of photosynthesis, this feeding on the light, You know what I'm saying? And we also have the aspect of chlorophyll in plants, which makes it green. Well, the human equivalent to that concept is melanin, right? In ancient times, from an evolutionary perspective, melanin was the molecule, was the adaptation that formed so that humans could exist in the presence of that sunlight in the environment in an efficient and effective way, right? So there are two forms of melanin that we want to take into account, okay? The first form is eumelanin, right? And that is the skin pigmentation, right? That is that evolutionary step that the skin became darker, to be able to exist in that environment, right? But the second type, which is what I think is the most important, the type that brings the most potential to our current circumstances, right? We've been black. You know what I'm saying? We've been had black skin, and we know what that means and what that has brought. But I don't think a lot of us pay attention to what is going on inside the nervous system, what is going on inside of the brain. Right? And when it comes to neuromelanin, it is, again, this substance that exists within every system of the body. But when we're talking about the nervous system, and the cerebral spinal fluid, which coats, right, the nerves that come up the spine, right, it coats them and it allows that electricity to be conducted. Melanin is in high concentrations there, and it is also in high concentrations in different parts of the brain, that have to do with like motor function and things like that. But the main key when it comes to neuromelanin and melanin inside the systems of the body is that it's about regulation, right? So before we get into, activation strategies, I want to talk about the state of the body in stress or anxiety or depression, right? The state of the body when we're in these states is agitated, it's unbalanced, it's disharmonious, right? Your mind is racing, your muscles are tight, right? A lot of people hold tension in the neck, in the shoulders, right, in your jaws. And you would be surprised if you actually spend some time with your body and just take a second to observe and scan yourself, just how much tension you're holding, just how uncomfortable you are in your own body, right? It's yours, it's your home. Yet a lot of us exist in discomfort, right? And we accept discomfort, right? We accept the state of survival mode, right? This constant state of fight, or fright, fight, or freeze, right? We go to work and we respond to, the stresses of those environments, right? Social media, constant information, of all types of things. And we just have all this information to take in all the time, and we're not balanced in that, right? So when we're talking about activating our melanin, it is to activate our body's ability, right? Activate our mind's ability to balance, to bring balance, right? So this concept that I want to talk about, that I was introduced to, by Professor Kaba, Kamene, and his name is going to pop up in these lives a lot. And I have his work in the description, right? But this concept of the original Trinity, right? In the beginning, there was nothing, there was darkness, there was infinite potential of creation, right? And that concept was known to ancient Africans as Nun, the primordial waters of Nun, right? You can think of this like the unconscious mind, the things that happen in the body and the mind that are autonomous, or in other words, we don't have to think about doing it, it just happens. Those processes. And we had the concept of Ptah, right? Ptah is that activating energy out of the darkness, that spark, right? That manifests and comes into being. It's Ptah, that is the activating energy. You can think of this as effort, conscious thought, right? And then in that state of conscious thought, we have Atum, which came up in, last week's live, which is creative utterance. And Atum is the organizer, the regulator, the one that defines, that gives names, right? So the concept of the creator in this original Trinity is guided in the cosmos and in the body by carbon, by melanin, right? So keeping that concept in mind in itself is an activation strategy. One of my favorites is, just go sit out in the sun and write. And I said that in the last live as well. But, it's simple. I'm big on simplicity, especially when you're dealing with the things that comes along with, the spiritual journey or just the healing journey in general. You already have a lot of things to worry about. You know what I'm saying? You already have a lot of things to process. Why not make the processing simple, efficient, effective, right? Sit out in the sun and write. You can sun gaze, right? Before noon in the rising hours of the day, to look up into the sun, eyes open, eyes closed, to allow the sunlight, that information, that light and that heat to come down into your nervous system. And to simply just reflect on how that feels, feel your body, become present. And again, this concept of human photosynthesis, right? To be more like plants, right? Along with the development of melanin, right? Skin pigmentation. Another, development that came with that is agriculture, right? Because as we begin to develop as human beings and our skin got darker and we began to stand more upright and we began to create tools, and then we began to observe the cycles of nature, and then we began to develop systems around the cycles of nature like agriculture, right? Our ancient ancestors who had the highest concentrations of melanin or had that natural, just harmonious relationship with their inner world, right? They ate plants and fruits. You know what I'm saying? So to just do more of that, spend more time outside, drink some tea. So at this time, I do want to, open the floor up for some questions about melanin, about, the healing journey, you know. do want to share some, as maybe thinking of some questions, I do want to share some more excerpts out of Kaba Kamene's book, Carbon Before Melanin. Excuse me. So there's a portion at the beginning of the book that speaks on facts about melanin, right? Says melanin responds to and absorbs light, sound, music discussions, and electrical energy or creative movement, and uses this energy in the body as food. So that melanin has the ability, again, this concept of human photosynthesis, sounds, the music you listen to, the images that you take in, right, the discussions that you're having, all are feeding your body and therefore creating the environment that your consciousness sits in. You understand? Right? Says melanin is an extremely stable chemical and resists most experiments analysis designed by humans. Right? So the stability of the element, the strength of the element, right? The dependability of that element in our bodies, right? If we can activate it, if we can align ourselves with it, it's saying that, it can help us overcome. I got a question about when the season is changing and sunlight will be limited, what can I do? What I like to do with nature in general, when the seasons are changing and, I want to connect with a particular natural element, there's always YouTube. And, so for example, it's not in the context of sunlight, but when I want to connect with water, I'll go on YouTube and I get ocean sounds on. But, simply visualizing the sun, and the concept of the sun also lives within your body in different ways. You have the solar plexus chakra, which sits right below the sternum. And this chakra is responsible for, digestion and energy, motivation. So focusing on that area of the body, doing some deep breathing into the diaphragm and expanding and contracting that area of the body. Imagining the sun radiate from that area of the body. But another manifestation of the sun within the body, or that we always have access to, no matter the season, is our mind, right? The light of consciousness, or, the third eye, the first eye, the ori, right? So again, same type of deal. Imagining the sun in your mind's eye. Imagining the presence of it, And another question, are there foods or drinks that will help with activating melanin? Yeah, so fruits for sure. Fruits and vegetables. I would recommend going on a fruit fast. And really resetting the body. Again, tapping into that digestive system. But what it's going to do, doing any type of fast is going to take the weight off of your body, right? So that melanin doesn't have to work so hard, because again, melanin is in every system of the body and it is responsible for regulation, right? So when you allow your body to cleanse itself and drain, of all these toxins or tensions and blockages, that can improve um, the expression or the activation of melanin within your experience. Um, as far as drinks go, fruit juices, I really like tea. Um, what tea does for me is that it the sensation um, of the warmth traveling down the digestive tract, right? You have a nerve in the body called the vagus nerve, right? And it's this long nerve system that follows the path of the spine, right? So when you when I feel that warmth traveling down that pathway, I immediately get relaxed. Um, and other things that you can do to uh, relax that don't have to do with food or drink, but it's still a type of nourishment. We can think about touch, self-soothing. Um, one self-soothing technique that I learned. I think I want to say I learned it in therapy. Um, but you can, you know, kind of like rub your neck and like stimulate this part of your body, just that line in the body. It's all about relaxation and balance, because again, when we're trying to activate melanin, what we're really saying is we're trying to align ourselves with its natural state, with its role, right? So what we have to do is we have to do the things, or you know find things that really stimulate this concept of balancing, of regulating, of stabilizing, of grounding, right? Do I have any more questions? Another important concept here that just came to mind is movement, right? Slow meditative movements like yoga or tai chi, stretching. You know, when we live in a constant state of survival mode or stress, or whatever it is that you go through on a day to day or through the course of one's life, I find that what really disrupts melanin is when your consciousness is outside of yourself. It's scattered. Your energy is all over the place. And it may manifest as, clutter or disorganization, literally. But, just kind of like a scatterbrain type of thing. Or like a out of body. So something that you can do every day to simply bring your consciousness back into yourself, back into your mind, into your body, right? That's where it belongs. you know. And, there is such a thing as, like we've been discussing, a awareness of the environment around you. But if you live in an environment that's not, you know, productive, or that's not honoring your best self, like, just from a urbanization perspective, right? Like, imagine living in New York. It's the concrete jungle, right? Buildings, glass, all these artificial lights, constant noise, right? City that never sleeps. That's not a place for melanin to thrive, right? Because it has to regulate, it has to mitigate all of those signals that are trying to come in for you to even, go about your day to day, right? Another question is, are you ever too young to start the practice of activating your melanin? I would say that in 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 terms of neuromelanin, babies and young black children have the highest concentrations, have the ability to tap into that naturally because their body is running automatically. They're just doing things automatically, right? So I would say, as parents, what one can do to answer the question, no. As soon as a baby is born, you can put them in an environment that is conducive to a state of peace and calmness and tranquility, as it should be, you know. And you can, make the choice as a parent to feed this baby fruits, organic vegetables in the form of, purees or blended smoothies. So there's many different ways to go about it, but my biggest advice to that age group, like as in children, would be to don't try to restrict them to this unnatural system. Allow their natural creativity, because the aspect of neuromelanin that's so powerful is the creative intelligence. So if a parent stifles that at a young age, that kid will always have that preconceived notion, that trauma response of stifling that energy, stifling their full expression. Got a question: are there any disadvantages to melanin? I would say the biggest disadvantage that I see is the superiority complex. Because it's also very important to realize that in the context of you melanin, right, that has to do with skin pigmentation. And obviously there are, in our social construct, we have people who are black, who are colored, and people who are not, right? People who are not melanated. But every single person has melanin in their body. It is a part of the human being to have melanin in every system of the body, in the nervous system, right? Melanin and its, effects, what it is not reserved to black people. And I could see a disadvantage of this being, us getting caught up in the same superiority complex that got us to, the situation we in. And the way that I would mitigate that disadvantage is I would, educate ourselves by reading books, like Carbon Before Melanin, by getting a better understanding for yourself through your own research. What is this? By observing oneself, and really getting grounded in the concept, not, to weaponize the concept as, something to, one up somebody. But yeah, that's the biggest disadvantage that I would say, um, when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to melanin. I would definitely say to be grounded in that concept is very important for us. But I think that's good for today. Um, in the description, I do have a link to free journaling prompts, which can assist you in this healing journey. Um, and I also have a link to my book, Defeating Anxiety and Depression Through Art. And a lot of that book is related to these concepts that we're talking about, related to the notion of aligning yourself with nature in such a way so that the natural divine energy, right, these magnificent parts of the human experience, the human mind, the human body, can flow as they're supposed to, right? Also have links to my SoundCloud, my music. Hear the track in the background. I made this, for today's episode. So, if you would like to hear more of my music, that's down there as well. But I'm wishing everybody a positive rest of the day, and wishing everybody get good rest, or, if you're watching the replay, that you're feeling energized today and you wake up feeling activated, motivated. But until next time, peace and blessings.